Hello, hockey fans, and welcome back into the neutral zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport. We've got a full one for you tonight, bouncing all around the league. The San Jose Sharks, they finally got one without Celebrini scoring. Could that help boost them further along? The Buffalo Sabres, are they for real? Might they be getting ready to make a playoff push? Well, not if the Florida Panthers have anything to say about it, and they're starting to get healthy. It's starting to get good down in South Florida. Meanwhile, out west, the Ducks, they're heating back up. Is that going to be anything consistent? Boston, they're getting cold. They had a streak snapped. Could they be headed in the opposite direction? And Montreal's got some defensive stalwarts showing up. And we had a legend return to the scene of the crime. All that plus more coming up right here, right now. So strap them on up, lace up those skates, carry it on in. This is the neutral zone. Let's have some fun. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome one, welcome all into the neutral zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am Adam. He is Freddie B. Together we do this thing every Wednesday night. Sorry for a little bit of the delay in the start of the show. Having some technical problems, but we sorted our way through them and we are ready to rock and roll. How you doing, Freddie?
I'm doing awesome, Adam. How are you doing? Great to be back talking hockey.
Absolutely.
We had a cool experience this week with my kids.
Yeah.
The action never ends in this household when it comes to sports and stuff like that. So obviously it was Martin Luther King Day. Kids didn't have school on Monday, and neither did I have work. So my daughter's like, Dad, let's go to the Kings practice, which is in El Segundo, a good hour and a half, 90 plus miles from where I live. And I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let's see, run it by Mom. She's got to work anyway. So yeah, let's go. So me and my brother decided, he took my niece and nephew, and I took 3 of my kids, and we went down to the Kings practice down in El Segundo, and they got to watch the guys on the ice. And it's so cool. I mean, we were one of the first people there. So you're right on the glass. There's a couple rows of bleachers, and you're just up and close on the action, maybe like 50, 60 people in total. And then you get to see the players. And then afterward, you wait outside the where they park, and they come out and they'll take pictures and they sign, and just a fun day.
Very nice. Oh yeah.
That's
and
my story for this week.
And you get to see the players in a little bit. Sometimes they could be in a more relaxed mood when it's practice. Sometimes they're just hyper focused, and I don't want fans around here. But a lot of times they're a bit more willing to engage and interact because it's not the stress of a game night. You've got work to do, but it's not,
Yeah.
I get one shot to get this right kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was great. My daughter walked away with a Brant Clark stick. He gave her a stick after practice, which, he's her favorite player. Everything's about him. So it was just so fitting, that she was able to get that. And the other kids got some autographs like Drew Doughty and Kevin Fiala, some of the other guys. So it was a really nice day.
Oh, excellent. Oh yeah. That always makes it fun. Yeah. For my daughter, it is all about Connor Bedard. Yep. Doesn't matter what else I try to do to influence that one way or the other.
We got to get that meetup to happen between the two of you.
She would lose her mind.
Yeah,
she would lose her mind.
We got to see, work with Larry. Maybe we can get him on the show one of these days.
Oh man,
Can you imagine
that would be a pull. That would be a pull. The other night, so I was excited the other night because Jonathan Taves makes his return to Chicago, and we'll get into that a little bit more during the game. But I'm showing my daughter the video that they played during the game, and that they played the highlight reel, and you see Taves's reaction and all that. And my daughter's kind of looking at me like, "Okay, Dad, I'm trying to understand why this is important, but I just don't get it." And then she sees him doing his laps and acknowledging the crowd, and she's, "Wait a minute, Bedard's out there, the guy's Daddy. Bedard's out there with them. That's so cool. He gets to be with Bedard." Yeah, yes, Bedard's out there. Yes.
And then you get to explain to her the story, but Dad, why are you crying?
Yeah, but Dad, and it's, you can tell that for her, it's, "Dad, I don't care about that guy. There's Bedard."
I know. That's awesome. You know what? And then that's the thing. He's going to be with the franchise hopefully as your child progresses in age and then starts really becoming a big fan, and then that's where she's starting early, and I love it, Adam.
Mm-hmm. That was when we went to the game on New Year's Day, that was the one, like, if there was anything possible out of that whole day that could have made it any bit better, it would have been had Bedard been healthy enough to play.
Yeah,
that's the only time out of that whole amazing experience, which I would change nothing out of that experience. That was once in a lifetime for all of us. But yeah, that was the one thing.
Yeah, it's like going to Disneyland and your favorite ride's broken down. Or
just like, okay, the one character you were hoping to see walking around, you missed him. Really wanted to see Captain Hook. Well, it never worked out. You didn't quite see him, but man, everything else was amazing and spectacular. That was the one thing. But yeah, that was her reaction to the entire thing. And meanwhile, I'm there, and it's just like the nostalgia's waving over me, and she's just, "There's Bedard," and otherwise just completely bored with the whole thing.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. But man, we have so much to talk about tonight. I know we have games going on. We've got crazy stuff happening throughout the week. So let's get going.
Let's dive in, shall we? Yeah, we got 6 games in the NHL tonight, and we've got 1 PWHL game tonight. So we'll dive through. We'll get you caught up on all of them. Let's start with the games that have gone final. We've got 2 games that have gone final. The Detroit Red Wings needed overtime, but went into Toronto, crossed the border, and took out the Maple Leafs 2-1 in overtime. Came back from being down 1-0.
Yep.
Simone Edvinsson tied the game very late in the first period, his 6th goal of the season. And then Dylan Larkin with the assist from Seider in overtime, his 25th of the year, gives Detroit the win, gives them the extra point on the night. So well done for Detroit. And then in the PWHL, there was 1 game in action tonight, and it went final while I was fighting with the technical difficulties on my end. Montreal, also in overtime, went into Minnesota and took out the Frost, also by a score of 2-1.
Awesome.
So 2-1 all the way around there. In this case, Montreal never trailed in the game. However, Marie-Philippe Poulin, she got the game-winning goal in overtime 3 minutes in. Maureen Murphy got her first goal of the season late in the second period. And then Kelly Panic, late in the third period, tied the game to force overtime. So Minnesota very fortunate to come away with even just the 1 point in that game. But 2 points go to the Victory, their third overtime victory on the season. For the Frost, their third overtime loss on the season. And then elsewhere, we've got 2 games. 1, 2,
3, 4,
5.
There's 5 going on right now.
5, and all of them are active. There was one that I thought hadn't started yet, but apparently I talked long enough. So we got 5 games in action going on right now in the NHL. The Ducks currently beating the Avalanche 1-0 in Colorado.
Yeah. Jeffrey Veal with the goal. The guy they just acquired from the Bruins is paying huge dividends already with the Ducks. He's dropping the gloves, and now he's putting pucks in the back of the net. So a huge pickup there. And you know what? The Ducks are heating up, Adam.
We'll get into that here in just a minute. Yep. Going on in the second period, just starting the second period in Utah, the Flyers all over the Mammoth 3-0 and out shooting the Mammoth 16-8. They have just gotten underway in the second period, and Philly is already on a power play, so it could be 4-0 very quickly here. Goals scored by Cam York, Christian Dvorak, and Bobby Brink already converted on the power play in the first period. Or, excuse me, just a minute into the second period, Bobby Brink scored on the power play, and now the Flyers back on a power play.
Yeah, that's big. Flyers were on a little bit of a dip, and now they won a big game the other night against Vegas, and now they're beating Utah. So maybe the Flyers are, you know what, they fell out of the playoff picture. Now they're, you get 2-3 wins back, and you're right in the mix again.
It doesn't take much. You've been bringing that up every week. It doesn't take a whole lot. One good week is about all it takes, and you can go from here to here or vice versa very quickly this year in the NHL. Almost the end of the first in Calgary, Pittsburgh dominating the Flames to this point. The scoreboard, it's just 1-0 Pittsburgh. Evgeny Malkin, his 11th of the season, but the Penguins out shooting the Flames 9-4 through the first period. So Pittsburgh doing well there. And then about halfway through the first period in Seattle, all knotted up, 1 apiece between the Islanders and the Kraken. The Kraken finishing out a power play here to make it 1-1, to tie it up at 1. And then they just dropped the puck in Vancouver. Capitals and Canucks, no score. 2 shots on goal for the Capitals, 1 for the Canucks, but they haven't even played 4 full minutes yet into that game. So lots to keep an eye on there.
So it's a rare night in the NHL when you have a lot of evening, West Coast evening games. Only the one early game today. And now you've got a bunch of these starting like 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Pacific time, which is nice because tomorrow, I don't think there are any games that start beyond like 5 o'clock my time. So tomorrow you've got 8 games, and pretty much all of them are starting at 7. There's a couple at 6. Okay.
There's a couple later. You've got Pittsburgh at Edmonton and Detroit at Minnesota.
Ooh, those are both going to be great games.
That's a late start there in Minnesota for that one. 8:30 local time. They'll be dropping the puck on that one. That's a later start than normal for the Wild, but I'm sure they won't mind the national coverage on that one. So
that's like a rivalry game too, right? The Red Wings and Minnesota being, Detroit, Minnesota.
That's it. The cities, but the two teams, because Detroit by now they've been in the Eastern Conference for so long. They've been in the East for so long.
Detroit still more of a rival with the Blackhawks.
Oh my God,
would be Minnesota.
I'll put it this way. They still chant Detroit sucks instead of let's go Hawks every time the Red Wings come to United Center.
Okay. All right. So I love that. A little bad blood still.
Yeah. Those are two teams that do not like each other, 2 fan bases that very much do not like each other. I've been fortunate enough to get to go to 2 Hawks Wings games, and I have enjoyed them both tremendously. That's a fun atmosphere. Regardless, I got to go to one at United Center, and I actually got to go to Joe Louis before they moved out, and now they're in the
Little
Pizza
Caesars.
Dome. Yeah, now they're at Little Caesars. I haven't been to Little Caesars, but I got to go.
Yeah, get the stuffed crust. It's pretty good.
I got to go to Hawks Wings. Oh gosh, that was Holy cow, that was 13 years ago now that I
It
went.
is.
That was a while ago, but that was a tremendous atmosphere. Both times I've been to Blackhawks Red Wings. Great atmosphere. The crowd always in it. But yes, when Detroit comes to town, the chant stops being "Let's go Hawks" and it becomes "Detroit sucks." So yeah, there's still very much a thing going on there between those two. Very much. All right. Well, shall we empty the notebook, or do you want to dive into the power rankings first tonight?
You know what? Let's do the power rankings first.
All right.
The notebooks has a lot of other underscores and underlying notes within that notebook with some of the teams that we wanted to talk about. But yeah, let's start with the power rankings, Adam.
All right. So we will dive in. So this is every week, Freddie goes through the entire NHL and ranks the top 10 teams from 10 to 1. And sometimes we see a lot of movement. Sometimes we see a little bit of movement. The bottom has where there's been the most movement. That 10 through 8 spot tends to be where the most movement is. So no
consistency. You're not safe. You're not safe if you're like 6th on down, right?
Yeah, a lot of shakeup in the bottom, typically where that is. So we'll start things off at number 10 tonight. We've got a relative newcomer in.
You know what?
I keep notes for you, but I can never remember. I don't look it up ahead of time. That would be the smart thing to do.
We've never had the Penguins in here.
But we have not had the Penguins in there this year. So making their debut in Freddie B's power rankings at number 10, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, this is just the feel-good story of the year. The Penguins are continuing to surprise everybody in this most surprising NHL season that we've ever had. And right now they're beating Calgary tonight. They're currently sitting 3rd in the Metro. They're in a playoff spot 48 games into the season and looking really good. I mean, Sidney Crosby has been fantastic this year. He's just like a fine wine, just keeps getting better with age. And we saw Gino, Malkin score a goal tonight. They're getting great guy. Chris Letang is having a good season. Erik Karlsson, they've got some veterans, and the pieces are starting to gel, and that's great. I hope it can continue because they were so bad last year, but I'd love to see the Penguins back in the mix.
Yes, it is, and they're 6-2-2 in their last 10. So 14 points in their last 10 games. They're really starting to pick it up and get themselves going. Brian Francione in the chat room. The Bruins won't make the power rankings list tonight.
No, Brian, they were almost there. And had they maybe not lost that game, I think I had them in at number 10. But I mean, they had a 6-game winning streak, so the Bruins were pretty hot. They just played a better team last night, and but the Bruins, an interesting story. Still, they're sitting in the second wild card spot.
Very much. They're by no means. Nobody's out of it. That's been kind of the overlying principle of this season so far. Is if you think you're out of it, just give yourself a good week and you could be right there back in it. If you're in it, don't get comfortable because all yours is just one bad week from suddenly you're completely out of contention again. And Pittsburgh this week, so they're playing tonight, beating the Flames. They've got coming up, they've got the Oilers and the Canucks doing a little bit of Western Canada coming up here. They've got the Blackhawks and then the Rangers to close out the month of January. So some decent opportunities to keep things going. The game against the Oilers tomorrow night, that could. They're in Calgary. They're in Calgary.
So they're in Edmonton. You got Crosby and McDavid. This is kind of like a Super Bowl kind of an event. So it's going to be a big game. Lot on the line because both teams, Edmonton as well, still playing pretty good.
That'll be an excellent one tomorrow night. We'll keep we'll keep an eye out on that one. Coming in at number 9, a team that's definitely been in here a lot, but it feels like they're maybe slipping a little bit. Coming in at number 9, the New York Islanders.
Yeah, they got a big win the other day. They are currently 2 points ahead of the Penguins in the standings in the Metro. They are playing and tied right now against Seattle. But the Islanders still doing really well. And now we're hearing talks of Ilya Sorokin as a possible Vezina candidate. Maybe with Logan Thompson and Mackenzie Blackwood, the 3 top Vezina candidates right now. He has done awesome. He set the franchise record in shutouts a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know. Is he in net tonight? I didn't see playing tonight. My bad. But no, Islanders are sticking with it, and they're keeping their head above water a little bit higher than everybody else right now.
Sorokin is in net tonight, 6 saves on 7 shots.
Yeah,
at this point. So yes, he is in net tonight for the Islanders. And
Matthew Schaefer. I mean, those two factors with Matthew Schaefer and what Soroka is doing in net right now is why the Islanders are where they're at.
Absolutely. Schaefer's having an incredible season. You're looking rookie of the year right there for Schaefer.
Okay, the Islanders are in this spot right now, Adam, and I don't think anybody has talked about this. Remember they lost Kyle Palmieri about a month and a half ago to a very significant season-ending injury, and Palmieri was one of their top forwards at the time, and I thought maybe the Islanders would have a little fall off, but they're doing fantastic job right now. Anders Lee having a great season. Bo Horvat, we know what he can do. These guys are having a really good season. I like the Islanders a lot.
Yeah, and they've been in your top 10 very frequently.
Yeah.
So staying in the East, but moving to the Atlantic Division, coming in at number 8, the Detroit Red Wings, the Wheel. 3-game winning streak for Detroit right now.
Yeah, and they came back from behind tonight. They were losing 1-0 to the Leafs, and Dylan Larkin scores the game winner in overtime, his 25th of the season. The Leafs just keep doing it, man. It's the Leafs and Montreal and Carolina. Those guys are just chugging, and you just got to stay pace, and the Red Wings are doing that.
Red Wings doing an excellent job overall. 7 wins in their last 10, 15 points in their last 10 games. You've got to enjoy that with what you're seeing. Are they going to be how active at the trade deadline do you think Detroit will be at this point? They're one of those teams that you keep hearing, oh, are we going to add? Are you going to add? Are you going to add? What do you think?
I think they will be active. They will be. I think they're going to finish in the top 3 in the division. So I think they're going to try to be as active as they can to stay with, as close as they can to Carolina. I think. Carolina is going to try to add like they have been in the years past. So what if the Red Wings brought in like Antemi Panarin or something like that? Do you think that would make sense?
That would. It would make sense for the Rangers.
Yeah,
that would make sense to if you're the Rangers, it would make a heck of a lot of sense to trade him.
You can have him and Patrick Kane playing together.
The two of them,
it could be, old times.
It could be the two of them had a thing a lot of years ago. They had a thing. I don't know how much. You're talking 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago
right.
now.
Not
that the chemistry those two guys had. I think they could pick that up. I think they could pick that back up. I wonder how effective the two of them would still be after all these years. But it would certainly make sense for Detroit from that standpoint. If the cost is right, that's
going to be the only thing is the cost, obviously, and the term or what you can get him for, because he's 37 years old, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting up there in age, so
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just maybe that's
Yeah.
a possibility. You
I
said, are
mean,
they going to be buyers? Sure, I would go after him.
yeah. And if you're New York, oh my goodness, don't keep him. Don't keep Panarin. There's no reason for that at this point. You're not going
No.
anywhere. Coming in at number 7, a team that is here basically every single week because, they've got Jack Eichel and, lots of other good talent there. The
Yeah.
Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, now they get Rasmus Anderson in a trade from the Flames. Another steal of a trade. They did give up a first and a contingent possible first in 2017, 2027 and 2028, or that could be a second round pick depending on whether or not Vegas wins the Stanley Cup. But we saw them do it last year, when they brought in Noah Hannafin, and now they're going and getting another former Flame now in Rasmus Anderson. He fits their needs. Shea Theodore is back. Vegas is a very scary team, and they were on a little bit of a run of late. They did have a hiccup, and lost that game to the Flyers the other night, especially at home. But no, Vegas is in a good spot, and Aiden Hill's back in net. He's doing great. Mark Stone is on a fanatic scoring pace right now. He had goals in, I believe, 10 of 11 games and had like a 14-point point streak. So Mitch Marner's starting to heat up as well. Pavel Dorofeev. Guys are Vegas. Watch out because they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah. They're certainly not going anywhere. I'll put it that way. Yeah, you cannot give up on them. Coming in at number 6, the Montreal Canadiens. We thought maybe this could be a team that might do some slipping, might do some fading. It was kind of a watch out. This could mean trouble, but Montreal, here they still are. They're staying in the top 10, and they're still playing some decent hockey at this point in the season.
Yeah, they're playing great hockey. They had a big win against Minnesota last night. Ivan Demidov and Lane Hudson. Did you see how they hooked up on that play the other night? And just those two guys are incredible. We know what Lane Hudson and obviously how he was last year, and then Ivan Demidov. The only reason he's probably not going to win the Calder this year is because Matthew Schaefer is also, he's probably going to win it, but he is right up there. Beckett Seneca right up there as well. Those are probably the top 3 favorites right now for Calder in the NHL. But Montreal just keeps doing it, and they're getting the solid goaltending. That was a big win. Detroit is ahead of them in the standings, but I think overall Montreal might be the better team at this point.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. Montreal does feel a little bit like they keep figuring out a way, even with the loss last night. But overall, good stuff from them. Then coming in at number 5, the team that Montreal just took on last night. You've got the Minnesota Wild. They're still 3rd in the Central overall, despite the loss last night. Little bit of a hiccup overall, though. Just 4-4-2 in their last 10. So what are we seeing from Minnesota? You still like him. You're keeping him in your top 5 overall.
Yeah, I still think they have great tandem of goalies. You've got Quinn Hughes, you got Kirill Kaprizov. But they just took a big loss, and I think Matt Boldy just got hurt. So that's a huge, piece out of the lineup. I don't know what Boldy's injury, entails, or if it's going to affect his play for the Olympics. We got a lot of guys starting to go out right now. Both here and in Canada. And Minnesota, I think they'll be fine. It just, it's a tough league. Every night's tough in this league. And they're right there with Dallas. They have one game in hand. They played one more game than the Stars have, but they both have 65 points. Just they're comfortable. I think they're in a good spot. They're 10 points ahead of Utah for the wild card, for 4th in that division, and they're about 10 points behind Colorado. So they're comfortable.
They've got a rough schedule to close out the month too. They host the Red Wings tomorrow night. Then they host the Panthers on Saturday. They play the Blackhawks, the Flames, and the Oilers then to close out the month of January. That's a tough 5-game. That's a tough 5-game stretch to close out the month.
It is. That's really tough right there. So, we'll see. I don't know if probably 2-2-1 or something like that. I think is what Minnesota can do in that 5-game.
Yeah, if they can get 5 points or more, you will absolutely take it out of that stretch. Bad time to be having to deal with injuries too. You mentioned that they were tied with Dallas. Dallas has the game in hand. Dallas is the team ahead of them in your power rankings, coming in at number 4, 50, 28, and 13 overall, but just 3, 5, and 2 in their last 10.
They've been slipping as well, slipping a little harder than Minnesota. Now they're both even in the standings. I think they're going to be fine. Wyatt Johnson, he's just doing what he does. Jason Robertson, and Ottinger, he's fine. I like Dallas still. They are so strong. And you can't continue to keep up this pace all season long. You're going to have, your ups and downs. And I said before, Adam, let's get them out of the way early. So that way, the second, push of the season, really that last third of the season, that's when it really matters most. Those are the games that are playoff type games. That's what's going to get you into the playoffs. So Dallas is going to be fine. Sitting at number 4, they may have moved down a few spots, but they're still atop in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they're still doing really well there. They do have a little bit easier of a schedule too to close out the month. They've got Columbus tomorrow night. Then they have a home and home with the Blues Friday night, and then next week Tuesday. They do go out and do a West Coast trip after that. They've got Vegas and Utah to close out the month.
Those are tough games.
Yeah, those two aren't necessarily going to be easy, but still, I'd like to see Dallas out of those 5 games finish with more than 5 points. I'd want to see
I think they will. Stretch. I think they will. Jason Robertson and Wyatt Johnson, they're so close. I think Robertson right now is like 28 or 29 goals, and Johnson's sitting at 26. They're both going to have 30 maybe by the Olympic break. And Dallas, that is a big win. They beat the Bruins last night, killed them, 37-16 in shots, 6-2 on the scoreboard. That's the Dallas Stars that I like to see.
Yes, that's more the Dallas Stars we're used to seeing than we've kind of been seeing all month. January's been a weird month for Dallas for sure. Coming in at number 3, a team that's here every single week. They're not going to be going anywhere. The Carolina Hurricanes.
No, don't really need to talk too much about Carolina. The only reason they're not number 2 is because they're just behind Tampa Bay.
Right.
Carolina, they're playing good hockey still. Very scary team. I think they're a cup favorite. At least to come out of the Eastern Conference.
7 points in front of the Islanders right now for the top of the Metro Division.
Yeah.
31-15-4. The Islanders 27-17-5. Carolina just playing Carolina Hurricane hockey. They just win. They just
that
win.
Rod Brind'Amour style hockey. It's crazy. And they just picked up Juuso Valimaki from the Utah Mammoth in a trade back on January 5th as well. A lot of trades you're going to start seeing now. A lot of big ones that we've had over the last week or so, and some that are, we may still see. So Carolina, they could be in play for Panarin as well. I'm hearing a rumor maybe about that.
Yep. Hey, when you're Carolina, you're going to be playoff bound. You're going to be in there having a veteran in there to help it. It never ends.
That's another fit.
It fits so well too, especially with Carolina. Just their style of playing defense is just play more puck possession. It's just, look, we dare you to take the puck away from us because you're not going to. Artemi Panarin fits so well into that because you don't have to worry about the defense there. You're just not going to play defense. Don't have to worry about that.
Yes.
Coming in number 2, they are the top of the Atlantic Division, the Tampa Bay Lightning, 31-13-4 overall, tied with the Detroit Red Wings, but they've got 3, count them, 3 games in hand on the Red Wings, 66 points in just 48 games. That 48 games, as I'm taking a look here, I believe that is tied for, no, that is, it is tied for the second fewest games played in the NHL. Colorado playing its 48th game tonight.
Okay. Yeah. 66 points with Detroit's win tonight. That was their 66 as well, I think. But
yes,
no, Tampa Bay, they had that 11-game winning streak, saw that come to an end, and they've gone on another 2-game winning streak since that time. So, 13 and 2 or whatever it is in that span is fantastic.
Yeah. And
the Braden Point injury, that's the thing, though.
Yep.
We thought it would slow them down. So far, it hasn't. We'll see what happens.
And the one loss in there too for Tampa Bay was in overtime. So
yes,
they still got a
you're
point.
Right.
They still got a point out of it. So even without Braden Point, sorry, I had to.
I know. Yeah. No, Vasilevsky is Kucherov is having a great year. Nobody's talking about how good of a season Kucherov is having right now. And I think they could be buyers, but they could also be sellers. I think a guy like JJ Moser, I think he may be a guy that may be on the move. If I'm thinking of Tampa Bay, maybe somebody might try to get him for a pick or two. But no, Tampa's looking good right now. I like them. Very strong.
Very
see.
very, very strong.
Brandon Hagel. John Cooper is, man, he's like the best coach in the league, isn't he? I love that guy. And he's never won a Jack Adams trophy for Coach of the Year. But, man, he is – I love that guy.
Always has them prepared. They're always ready to go out there and fight no matter what the situation, what the opponent, always navigating through the injuries that inevitably come up. But Tampa Bay is such a deep roster. You bring up the point that they could trade. They've got the strength on their roster. They've got the depth. They could trade and still, we'll just pick up some extra picks and just keep, drafting and developing these players that we're able to then just continue to be one of the top teams in the NHL year in and year out.
Yeah. Brandon Hagel, Jake Getzel, they're getting, they got a really nice group of guys, and they lead the league or in the Eastern Conference in plus goal differential as well at 49. They could put the puck in the back of the net, and then when Vasilevsky is on his game, he's still an elite goalie in this league.
Absolutely. And then the number 1 spot, they've been in the number 1 spot all season long. They're playing right now. We see them taking on the Ducks over your shoulder there.
Losing to the Ducks.
Losing to the Ducks at home, though. Well, there's still time on the clock. So the Colorado Avalanche, what more can we say about them that we haven't said all season long? They've got an 11-point lead. They've got an 11-point lead with 3 games in hand on the Stars.
Yeah, I don't know. They did lose that game at home. Nashville beat them, gave them their first regulation loss at home just last week. Nathan McKinnon just fantastic right now. Just picked up his 1100th point of his career already. I couldn't believe that he's already got 1100 points. But when you average about 150 a season, I could see that. Definitely.
Yeah, it adds up quickly then. Yeah, when you're getting multiple points every single night, it absolutely adds up.
Yeah, they're just steamrolling, and nothing new out of Colorado. They're just doing what they do.
Exactly. They just continue to be a top. All right. So that does it for this week for Freddie B's Power Rankings. What did he get right? What did he get wrong? Let us know in the comments. Hit us up on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at IE Sports Radio. This show is at IESR Neutral Zone. He is at Freddie B. I am at Adam_Karnik. Let us know what you think, or hit us up in the comments or in social media, wherever you like.
Yeah.
We are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to empty the notebook, go all the way around the NHL with some of our favorite stories from the week that was. This is the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be right back after this. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam and Freddie back with you here for another 20 minutes or so of the show here tonight. So we went through the power rankings. Now we'd like to go through and just kind of go empty out our notebooks from the week. A bunch of different stories and thoughts and opinions that came through our heads from the week that was in the NHL. Freddie, you got any particular place that you'd like to start tonight?
Well, I first wanted to start real quick because we talked about it just last week, how the Sharks were 0-8-2 in games when Macklin Celebrini didn't record a point. Well, they did win a game the other night, beating the Florida Panthers without Macklin Celebrini scoring a point. So it is possible they can win without him. It just so happened the next night, last night, they did lose. He didn't get on the score sheet again, but they did lose to Tampa Bay. So they did get their first win without a Celebrini point. Another big note on the Sharks, they did make a big trade with the Vancouver Canucks. They're getting Kiefer Sherwood in. He's got 17 goals on the season. This guy's really developed his game as his career has gone on. He started with the Ducks for a couple of years, and then he kind of went, he went to Colorado for a couple of years, and then Nashville, and was with Vancouver. His fifth landing spot, but he's put up good numbers over the last couple of seasons. He'll get you 4 shots a game. He'll get you 4 to 5 hits a game as well. I think that's a kind of toughness, but also brings some skill set that the San Jose Sharks are going to need going forward. I don't think they're done with the amount of trades that they're going to pull off before the deadline.
You think they're going to be more active?
I think so. I think they need a little bit more protection, secondary scoring for Celebrini.
I don't disagree with that. I feel like this isn't necessarily the year to jump in if you're San Jose. I would make a couple smaller moves and then kind of gear up with an eye more towards next year yet. But good.
Well, a lot of guys' names are out there right now. We're seeing, out of Vancouver, Elias Pettersson. We're seeing Evander Kane's name being tossed around. We're seeing Nazem Kadri in Calgary being tossed around. We know Panarin's a name. I don't think he'll go to San Jose, but maybe what if San Jose made a trade for Elias Pettersson to make him the number 2 center?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I could.
That's crazy, but shoot, it kind of fits.
It does, and if you can keep him locked up there for a little bit, could build some groundwork there for sure. It's good to see the Sharks,
relevant.
You don't want to make it a habit of trying to win without your best player being your best player, but it's nice to see they can do it on occasion, from time to time.
They're gonna be fine. But the promising, he's just in a little bit of a slump, but he'll get back into his scoring ways, no doubt.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's with that then, we've talked about them a couple of times. They didn't make it into the power rankings, and nor should they, but they are a little bit of a team on the rise right now. The Buffalo Sabres.
Oh yeah.
The Sabre, we've been knocking them a little bit this season. They've had their ups. Heaven knows they've had their downs. 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. And they had a stretch there where all of a sudden they were winning games left, right, and center there for a little bit, beating the Canadians, beating the Flyers, beating the Ducks. Have they played their way back into playoff contention? As we sit here right now, they're 4th in the Atlantic.
Yeah, they're in playoff contention, and man, what a feel-good story this is. The city of Buffalo needs this right now. We saw the heartbreak that happened with the Bills, but this resurgency that we're seeing with Buffalo, this is fantastic. This is what the NHL has been waiting for. And I'm even wearing tonight on my show here my Buffalo Sabres. As you can see that, I don't know if you can see that or not.
Very nice. Oh yes,
it's the shirt Randy Orton wore when he went to the Sabre. Was wrestling in Buffalo a few weeks ago. So I had to get one of those. I'm a huge Randy Orton fan, and I do like the Sabres.
Okay.
My wife stole my old Sabres shirt, my old one from a long time ago, my Ryan Miller shirt. I never got that one back.
Oh no.
No, Buffalo's doing fantastic. I think they can really make a push, and I think they probably have a good shot of making the playoffs. Right now, Money Puck has them at a 53% chance of making the playoffs. We're talking the Buffalo Sabres. That's a higher percentage. So right now, I think that they would be the last wild card slot team in the Eastern Conference.
I compare that to a month ago where it was like, they were
10%.
10 or 20% chance. So to get it up to a coin flip, slightly better than a coin flip, that's amazing for Buffalo. But still, they're too up and down for me to put them there now. But there's no reason they can't.
They're fun, and if you need a team to root for the Sabres. They need it.
Absolutely.
They've been snake bitten, this franchise, for quite some time. They've been on a playoff drought for quite some time. This would be fantastic if they can get back in it. And then maybe instead of selling some of their assets, they might be in the position to buy.
They could. Stranger, weirder things have happened.
Yeah.
So we brought them up a little bit earlier in the show. They're the 2-time defending champs. We know it's hard to do it 3 times in a row, but especially when half your team is beaten up and on IR and just, not healthy.
Yeah.
The Florida Panthers are getting healthy, and they're getting healthy at the right time, right before the Olympic break, just enough to let players get back on the ice, feel good about themselves. Then, hey, we get to take a couple weeks without any games, and then it's go time. Then it's crunch time.
Yeah. as far as getting healthy, yes, they did get Matthew Tkachuk back. He is back playing again. And they will be getting Seth Jones, who's that situation. He goes from IR to LTIR, and Florida's in a kind of a mess right now with some of the guys that are going to be coming off of injured reserve. They have to tweak some stuff around based on the salary cap. So like a situation that Vegas had to do with Mark Stone a few seasons ago. Florida's kind of in that same boat right now. Seth Jarvis is not going to be playing on Team USA for the Olympics. He was replaced today by Jackson Lacoma of the Anaheim Ducks. Fantastic young defenseman. I don't know that they're up against the wall on the cap, and they've got guys coming back. I think Florida, they need the guys healthy right now. That Money Puck has the Florida Panthers right now at a 41% chance of making the playoffs. They're not going to make it according to that. And I don't know. What do you think?
I would still, though, with as many injuries as they've been dealing with and the slow start they've been dealing with, to still be at 4 out of 10 times they make the playoffs. I'm thrilled for Florida, all things considered, under that. That's still a really strong start that they've been at.
They haven't had Brad Marchand for the last 6 games either. He's been out. Dmitry Kulikov's been out. Seth Jones. Once these guys come back, Paul Maurice, the Florida Panthers will have a come to Jesus. They say, you know what? Now's the time. We know what it's taken to get to the next level the last couple of seasons. So I think the Florida Panthers will make one serious push to get in.
And they're only 5 points out of the second wild card spot, and they are 2 games in hand.
You're right.
On Boston as well.
The way the standings are, it seems like you're just so far out of it. But in the Eastern Conference, I think more than the West, it's week by week.
Yep. It's a lot of teams that you have to jump, but the hurdle is really small. It's not like you're going around the Olympic track having to jump the 3 or 4 foot hurdle. It's all right, okay, there's a bunch of us, we're all bunched together, but all you got to do is take basically an elevated step,
Yeah. Adam, you know how, in the NBA and they have guys that with load management and, teams taking the night off.
Mm-hmm.
In this 2025-2026 NHL season, I think their slogan should be every game matters, period. Because every single game, every single night matters. There's some implication. You can't take a night off in this year's NHL at all.
No, every game is meaning something, which is crazy that we're in January and we're already feeling playoff atmosphere in some of these games every single night.
Yeah.
Well, we mentioned that Florida is only 5 points back.
Mm-hmm.
You look at who they have to catch. Boston went on a heater, and then they finally fell. We're looking at Boston. So they have the rough one against the Stars last night, but they beat the Kraken. They beat the Red Wings. They beat the Penguins. They demolished the Rangers. That was the game we were having all kinds of fun yucking it up about earlier this month.
Yeah.
Now, here's the rest of their January. Okay. Hosting Vegas, hosting Montreal, at the Rangers, okay. Hosting the Predators, hosting the Flyers. So 5 games, 4 of them at home. But you've got some tough opponents in there. You've got Vegas.
Yeah.
Philly is hot right now. The Canadians are playing good hockey right now. What do we think right now about Boston?
I still don't know. I think Jeremy Swayman has a lot to do with how the Bruins go. He could be fantastic. Can he ride them to a playoff push? Can they get contributions outside of David Pastrnak and Morgan Geekie? Kustendinov, can we start seeing him, start putting more weight on his shoulders, leading that first line that they've got? I think Boston has a chance. We're seeing, Victor Arvidsson's having a fantastic season. He really wasn't there for the Kings the last 2 seasons, so he's kind of come back out of nowhere to rejuvenate his career and the scoring touch that he has. Boston, I don't know. They were so bad last year, much like the Penguins were. And they're both competing right now for a playoff spot, which is nuts. And right behind them, though, are the Toronto Maple Leafs, another team who was, not in the playoff picture 2 weeks ago.
Exactly. They've worked themselves back up to get into the playoffs, but man, it's not going to take much for them to fall back out. All right, this one, I talked about it a little bit at the top. This was a fun one to me from earlier in the week. Jonathan Toews made his return to the United Center. Hard to believe that this was the first time he played a game at United Center since the pandemic, basically.
Wow.
But he made his return with the Winnipeg Jets, and he got a lovely ovation from,
he never had like a send-off, right?
No,
a final game. It was just abruptly done.
He believes that he actually caught COVID before everybody really kind of knew what COVID was. He thinks, looking back on it, that he may have caught COVID extremely early on, and then he was dealing with some incredibly rare medical stuff. It was so rare that my sister's a nurse, and so a lot of times when stuff happens with players in sports, that injury or things like that, I'll be texting her, "Hey, tell me about this. What is the prognosis for something like this?" And she's a good sister. She plays along and gets me up to speed so that a layman can kind of understand better. When I texted her about what Toews is going through, I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking it up, literally all I'm seeing is stuff about Jonathan Toews, which means the medical community at large really has no idea what this is.
Yeah.
It was very bizarre, some stuff he was going through from a medical standpoint. So no, he never really did get a true proper send-off from the Blackhawks. He spent some time, a little bit. His final days with the team, he wasn't on the top line. He was a third liner at the end with the team there. So he comes back with Winnipeg, and it's not like he's on the top line with Winnipeg either. He's very much being a depth player, being a veteran, and just being thrilled to be playing professional hockey again with his hometown boyhood team. But he makes his return to United Center, got a massive ovation from the crowd, went out and did at least 3 laps around the ice. I think I counted a 4th one. It got so much that he was actually telling the crowd, "Okay, pipe down. We got to play a game again.
Calm down.
And they were, nope. Oh, come on, stop it. No, we love you, Johnny," was the overwhelming feeling at United Center. But then to make it even better, the one thing that was the advantage over Patrick Kane's return from a couple of years ago is the Blackhawks won this one.
Okay.
2-0 Blackhawks won.
Winnipeg took it. You know what? Jonathan Toews kind of the last month has really turned his game around. He's kind of found his game again. He's got 7 goals and 11 assists. He's up to 18 points on the season. And I mean, Winnipeg, if they have this miracle comeback to get back and make it into the playoffs, it's going to heavily rely upon him as well as the rest of the team. But Jonathan Toews will have huge impact whether or not I think the Jets do make a playoff push.
If they do make the playoffs, he's definitely going to be somebody that they're going to lean on just from an experience standpoint. You know, there's no situation where it's going to be, oh, I haven't been in this before, I'm not sure what to do. Oh no, you know, he will be able to guide them through any playoff situation. All right, one more little nugget here, and then we'll leave everybody with a thought for the week. The PWHL, they continued their takeover tour last week, set a record in Washington, D.C., Capital One Arena, 17,228 fans were in attendance. It was the highest attended U.S. women's hockey game.
Yeah.
The largest attendance for a women's game in the United States. Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. The game was between the Montreal Victory and the New York Sirens. But well done there. The crowd outstanding there in Washington, D.C. It's one of the teams it's one of the cities that they are considering expanding to. So,
well, that's a good output of fans for them to try to put a team there.
Exactly. So, job well done there in DC. 17,228 fans in attendance there at Capital One Arena in DC. All right, so we have one last little thought exercise for you. We'll end the show on this tonight. You brought it up in some of the pre-show talk. So set up the play that made you think about this.
Well, it was the play in the Minnesota Montreal game last night when Lane Hudson was called for a trip in which there was no trip within 5 feet. The player of Minnesota fell backwards, basically tripped over the blue line is what it looked like. But from the referee's vantage point, called it a tripping penalty. Everybody's up in arms. You know what? You gotta serve it. But props to Eric Furlot, who was the referee. He did come to Lane later in the game at intermission and, did apologize and said, you know what? I blew that call. So that brings up kind of the point, Adam, like, we talk about, should there be an eye in the sky for NHL games to, pipe in and whistle down or whatever it is in an instance like this where there is a missed call. We've seen it, phantom penalties or high sticks that might need to be reviewed, pucks out of play. Did they hit the net? Did they not hit the net? I know we kind of had a little discussion about this, Adam. What's your take?
It's, first of all, from a purely equipment standpoint, first of all, I worry about having a literal camera like we see in football games where you have that, give that behind the quarterback view, and then it's on the dolly and can just fly all around. I don't necessarily love that idea for an NHL arena simply because the fans are so much closer to the action already. And I don't want to worsen the viewing experience for those paying good money to go to the arena and watch a game. I don't want to make their experience worse. But also from an equipment standpoint, a lot of the jumbotrons have cameras in them so that you can get kind of that overhead camera angle and allow you those things to see. As for kind of the sky judge, whenever you're talking about things like this, of course, what you've got to keep in mind and what you've got to worry about is you don't want to bog down the game in
anymore
reviewing things and slowing things down. Hockey's such a fast game. That's such a beautiful part of the game.
That's a great point, Adam, because it could take you a good 5 minutes to determine whether or not there was goalie interference. And then that brings up the question, what is goalie interference? There is no definition as to what goalie interference is. Is it just contact, coincidental, or is it a penalty? Yeah, I understand. I just want, the NHL refs are the best on all of professional officiating, in my opinion. They have to make split-second decisions. They're not like the NFL or Major League Baseball or even the NBA. They're just terrible. These guys are making calls on the fly, and they're so good. I would say, more times than not, they're right. And the biggest calls that get challenged are offside calls, and the league is almost at a 90% clip of when those calls are challenged that they are overturned. So that's just the one thing the linesmen and officiating is, I think, just, keep it on offsides, review a penalty like a high stick. I know you can come together if a penalty isn't called on the ice, but it's only if it's a major or a double minor.
Right.
You can't you can't go back to just a 2-minute penalty if there wasn't one called on the ice. So things like that, if you could whistle in, have, that off ice official be able to radio down and say, hey, we need to make a call on this play.
Yeah, it's definitely worth discussing. Last night was such a bizarre aberration.
It was
that it's definitely one of those things where it's, hey, we don't want this to become a regular habit. Should we discuss a contingency plan? But at the same time, something like that is so rare. I don't know that
it's not like Angel Hernandez blowing every call back there.
Right.
I mean, these guys, I give them all the credit. They are the best in the sport. And then, I mean, they're skating. They don't get timeouts. They don't get line changes, right? No. They're playing. They're skating the entire period. So just that, one little thing. But it brought up a discussion, whether or not the NHL can expand upon it.
Yeah, it's a fun discussion to have. My initial thought is, oh my goodness sake, we do not want to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. Let's not go nuts on this just yet. It was definitely an egregious blown call last night, but
he made up for it.
He made up for it, and everybody kind of was able to laugh with it and move on from it too. It was, the blue line demon definitely jumped up and got him,
right?
And managed to pull one over on the ref last night. So
yeah, but no, that's good. And these guys are great, but that's just one thing, Adam. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens exactly. What are your guys in the audience thought on that? Let us know in the comments. You can hit us up. Once again, we are on social media. You can follow the entire network on Twitter, also on TikTok and YouTube at IE Sports Radio. We are available on Twitter at IESR Neutral Zone, at Freddie B_sports, and at Adam_.
Yeah. And if you missed any of our shows, you can also follow us iesportsradio.com, the new website.
That's right.
Just launched last week. A lot of great things on there. If you want to talk sports, if you want to be a contributor, check out the website. There's spots on there for people like you that can just talk sports with us. So check us out. But Adam, great show tonight. Next week, let's talk Olympics.
Absolutely. Let's do it. We are zeroing in on the Olympics. So yes, we definitely want to get diving into that next week. But before we do that, we got to sound the horn and officially close the book on this one here tonight. Thank you to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can go to planetjerky.net to place your order. I would recommend the volcanic jalapeno, very tasty, great way to get you started there. We also want to say thank you to Vital Apparel, the brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. When you go to vitalapparel.com, use the promo code IESR, you get 15% off of your order. Once again, you can follow along with the station on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube at IE Sports Radio and IESportsRadio.com. We are on Twitter at IESR Neutral Zone, at Freddie B_sports, and at Adam_Karnik. Thank you to Larry B, the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio, for everything that you are doing behind the scenes and keeping this station going. We do appreciate it. Next week, yes, let's dive into the Olympics. We are so close to Olympic hockey. We're closer than the arena is to being ready. I know it. Ay, ay, ay. But we're going to be talking hockey teams. We'll be breaking down the different countries. We'll be looking at the rosters. Let's get you set up and prepped and ready and trying to figure out who's going to win gold, who's going to get silver, who's going to get bronze, who might be surprising in the tournament. Let's dive into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. For IE Sports Radio, he is Freddie B. I am Adam Karnik. Together, we are the Neutral Zone. We will see you guys right here next week on IESportsRadio.com, breaking down everything in the NHL, the PWHL, college hockey, and get you set up for the Olympics. Until then, have a great week, everybody. We will see you next time.
Good night.